I am so excited to welcome you not only to Jacksonville, but to the launching of the podcast called The Covenant, more specifically, the Sistah Covenant. And yes, I did say sister. What is the covenant, the Sistah Covenant? It is a circle of friends, my friends for 20, 30, 40 plus years, your friends, all of our friends, coming together in a safe space at a time such as this. We as women of color, we are counted on to nurture our families, our children, our significant others, our spouses, our community, our corporate boardrooms, and everything in between. But who fills our cup? I think about flying, and when we get ready to take off, what is said to us first? Put your oxygen mask on first before you can assist others. And that exactly is what the Sistah Covenant is all about. A safe space to encourage, to listen, to cry a little, laugh a lot, but most important, to empower and to fill our cup. Good morning. Great Sunday morning. And can you believe we are in December, the last month of the year? Happy holidays. Merry Christmas, Hanukkah, all of it. Blessings. And thank you for joining us this morning. We have a powerful yet very intimate conversations that we had the opportunity to sit down with some women and have real conversation around a real topic, infertility. So this show is so appropriately named "'Tis the Season," and it is. It's a beautiful season, but one of the blessings of this season is being a mom and having children around. So we want to talk about and unpack what that looks like for someone that may be experiencing infertility. So call a sister, call a friend, and make sure you listen to these doctors and these subject matter experts and some women who have traveled that journey. But before we get there, as always, I want to thank you. Thank you for your support. Thank you for your love. Thank you for purchasing your beautiful Sistah Covenant apparel. Isn't it beautiful? You can still make that purchase by just going to our website, thesistahcovenant.com. And as you know, we are supporting and we're still supporting UNCF. A mind is a terrible thing to waste. So every time you spend $100 or more, $10 goes directly to UNCF. Also, we have been on this challenge 25 challenge. And at the Sistah Covenant, we believe in vaccinations. And as we have recently heard about this new variant, the Omicron variant, these variants are going to continue to mutate and be something that's a part of our society until we, the community, and we as women of color lead that charge. So we ask that you be a part of the 25 challenge. It's simple. All you have to do is post a picture or video on why you got vaccinated. Use hashtags powerful women get vaccinated, hashtag together we win. Tag at the Sistah Covenant and 3 friends. At this time, I want to share a powerful PSA with some of my friends.
Hello there. I am here to let you know why I got vaccinated. I got vaccinated to inoculate my immune system. Did you get that? I want to make sure I am doing my part to make sure that we are safe, that all of us are healed, and that we are not infecting one another. So I still mask up, I still wash my hands, but I am part of Powerful Women Together. We win. In this moment, if you have not considered, I want you to reconsider, remain vigilant, and get vaccinated. It's that simple.
Greetings. My name is Nakia Allwright. I'm a candidate running for office in Prince George's County, Maryland. I'm here today to tell you that I am fully vaccinated. I chose to get vaccinated because my legacy will not die with COVID. While the vaccination does not prevent you from catching COVID, it does lessen your chances of dying. The one thing that I learned is that powerful women get vaccinated. Together, we win.
Hi, everyone. I got vaccinated because I am a minister. I'm a wife. I'm a mother. I'm a grandmother. I'm a sister. I'm an aunt. I'm a friend. All of these relationships are extremely, extremely important to me. Next to God, these relationships I value more than anything. And getting the vaccine helped me to preserve myself and my family. All of my family is vaccinated, and I thank God for that. But the unvaccinated population is what's causing the rise of the deaths of COVID. Children are dying now, and that saddens me to no end, because our children are now being affected because of those that are not vaccinated. So I implore you, I urge you, I pray that those of you that are not vaccinated, do it for your loved ones, do it for your family, do it for your friends, do it for yourself. That's the only way we're going to eradicate this virus, is by everybody that can getting vaccinated. If you're unsure, talk to a medical professional, do the research, but don't let theories stop you from becoming a vaccinated person. Powerful women get vaccinated. Together, we win.
I am a wife, mother to 4 adult children, and nana to 9 grandchildren. My husband and I decided to get vaccinated early because our family is our world. We wanted to make sure our family and our children were protected. So we decided early to get vaccinated. However, some of my adult children did not believe or see the need in getting vaccinated until my youngest child and only daughter, mother of 2 beautiful children, was suddenly stricken with COVID. She was hospitalized for 2 weeks, battling for her life, at the brink of ventilation. We are a strong family of faith. We had family and friends praying all across the country. We are so grateful to the wonderful doctors and medical personnel that helped her to recover and leave the hospital. Her message after that horrific experience to all of her contemporary 30-somethings was simple. You don't want to go through this. COVID is no joke. Get vaccinated. That's why we promote vaccination. powerful women get vaccinated. Together, we can meet this moment and win.
Wow, that was powerful. So again, please join us in the challenge. Lastly, we invite you to be a part of the Sister Circle. You know, we don't always unpack everything in the hour that we spend together. So be a part of the Sister Circle. Join us by opening Facebook on your phone or your computer. Search the Sister Covenant. Find the Groups tab. Click on the group titled The Sister Circle. Click Join Group. It's just that simple. And join us on the other side of the podcast. And we will also use that platform to push out messages and important information and how you can continue to support the Sister Covenant and be a part of the circle. I am just super excited to bring our medical contributor, Dr. Anita, in the studio. Hey, Anita.
Hey there, how are you?
How are you? We look like Christmas colors.
Yes, jolly enjoying. Hey.
Yeah, we're like ornaments, beautiful ornaments on a tree.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Well, this subject matter, I think, is one that probably isn't discussed as much as it should be, because it really is far reaching.
Mm-hmm.
It's sensitive, yet it is, when we think about this season, we think about all the joy and happiness that children bring throughout our communities, our country, our world, but there's some women that don't experience that joy and that blessing, right?
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
this is infertility is something that probably touches women more than we know.
Absolutely. And as a primary care, of course, I see those women sometimes first and then have to talk them through it and then usually do a referral after that. So we can help women to seek after what they're seeking after, which is motherhood.
Right. And it affects our self-confidence. It affects our emotional self, because sometimes we go through the headspace of we're not good enough.
Yeah.
Right. So we're blessed to live now. 20 years ago, we didn't have some of the technology and the medical advancements. So I'm excited to talk to our guests today. So do us the honors to introduce our special, powerful guest.
Absolutely. So I am pleased to introduce to you Dr. Christian Mcguire. She is a board certified OBGYN in the North Miami Beach area of Florida. And she owns and manages her own practice, Serene OBGYN Wellness Spa and Research Center. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me today. I appreciate it.
Hi, Dr. Chris Ann. How are you?
I'm doing great, Ms. Sams. How are you?
I am well. Thank you so much for coming to join us here at the Sister Covenant.
I am so blessed. I'm so happy to be here to share this time with you guys.
So I don't know if you realize Miami is my stomping ground. So I just feel like you're home and I'm home. So thank you. Thank you for that.
Well, I hope you have great weather we're having here.
Oh, we are in Jacksonville. It was a beautiful, beautiful day. So thank you for dropping in. It isn't Sunday morning, so we want to be transparent to our audience, but we're going to have a very intimate yet important conversation. We're talking about infertility. Tell us, what exactly is infertility? And maybe tell us how many women are affected by infertility.
So infertility is a condition, as you mentioned. Unfortunately, a good number of women do experience at some point possibility at some point in their lives, and some women always maintain some sort of infertility. But basically, it's defined as unprotected sexual intercourse without the use of contraception in a woman under 35 years where they've tried to get pregnant for at least 1 year. Now, if they're over 35 years of age, 6 months is the time and cutoff that we usually say, okay, we do what we can. I'm a general obstetrician, and we do what we can in our office, and that's the time of referral. If after 40 years old, it's basically immediate referral to infertility specialist. So, and the reason why I'm saying that, I think is very important. Some people sort of keep this inside, and it's kind of a silent journey, a silent sort of experience that they're having on their own, and they don't know when to seek help. But generally, really, under 35, within 1 year, over 35 to 40, within 6 months, and over 40, immediately, you need to seek assistance if you are attempting to have some sort of pregnancy and you've been having unprotected sexual intercourse.
So, Dr. Chrisanne, you mentioned age as one of the factors, but what are some of the other factors, if you will, to cause a woman to be infertile?
Right. So again, a woman could be infertile at any time. You have primary infertility where a woman never has been pregnant at all in their life. And then you have secondary infertility where they've had pregnancy and now again they've had that time span in terms of based on their age that they have not been able to get pregnant. The number one reason, or the most common reason in women that they can be infertile is because of ovulatory disorders. So that could be either they're not ovulating at all, or they are sparingly ovulating. And then, of course, we're looking at a couple. So infertility is just not women, even though, of course, we're going to focus on women today, but the male also can have issues. So ovulatory dysfunction is one. You have tubal damage, and you have to look at it from the systemic perspective. Tubal damage, another issue where it could be blocked, or it could be torced, or some sort of problem where the flow, basically where the egg is released from the ovary and it flows into the fallopian tube. And the concept is once the sperm meets the egg in the fallopian tube, they then travel into the uterus for implantation. Along that route is where anything can happen in terms of infertility. So tubal factor is a big issue. Endometriosis is another issue that we see, again, women suffer in silence. And endometriosis is a condition where you have endometrial glands, or basically menstrual tissue is not in the correct location. And they may be sitting on the ovary, in the tube, anywhere outside the uterus. And that can cause, again, some sort of dysfunction where it comes to implantation. You also have cervical issues where it could be, they may have had some procedure in the past or excessive mucus production, which causes, again, a blockage of the semen to go through. And the number one problem, other than that, again, is unexplained. You can have a woman with a perfect system. You check everything, labs, structural, everything, and they come back completely negative. And the same thing with the partner after doing that workup, and he's completely negative. But for some reason, they're just not getting pregnant.
Oh. So Dr. Chrisanne, I mean, you're touching on some really important issues. So you mentioned very briefly that we have with infertility a couple. So we know that there's male and female infertility. For male infertility, and I'll see that too, like the couples I take care of,
Right.
like the husband and the wife. We know that the man will go to his urologist and he'll have seminal fluid analysis. But let's say we have these women who are infertile. What are the numbers? So how many women do you see or do you know of what are the statistics that are infertile, and how many of them are women of color?
Again, this is one of those things where it's kind of hard to put a number to it. I mean, because infertility ranges in a lifetime of a woman. At one time, she could be fertile, have pregnancy, and then the next time, in the next year or two, where she's trying to attempt a pregnancy, she isn't fertile. So the numbers ranges. I've seen as low as 25% to as high as 60%. Again, I think it just ranges at what time they are in their life attempting to get pregnant. When you look at anything, when it has to do with women of color and looking at the research and what's available, is a paucity of information out there. Because again, for someone to give you the numbers or statistics, they have to care about the issue. So we don't see that much research being done in this arena. But we do know, of course, there's healthcare disparities across the the whole spectrum of healthcare when regarding Black women. And when we see disproportionate factors such as fibroids, which predominate in the African American community, that's where it comes in and has a relationship with infertility. As well, of course, socioeconomic factor is a major issue because number one, when they have this issue, they have to seek help, and they may have problems with access and finding the right people to help them, or two, in terms of the finance in order to afford the different myriad of treatments that are available. And unfortunately, infertility for the most part is not covered by insurance unless you live in a state where it's mandated, such as Massachusetts. But for the most part, if you have insurance, they may cover it minimally. For most people, none.
You brought up a great point about being able to afford some of the treatments that we have available for infertility. And I know that that's a hard thing for some people, especially in our community. Right. So you brought up a great point. And I also like the fact that you brought up the fact that we don't have the numbers per se, because we don't necessarily always do the research in our community to be able to report the numbers. So thank you for bringing up both of those points. So let's just bring it a little closer to home. You're a board certified OBGYN. Let's say that a woman comes in, makes her appointment, comes in to see you and says, "Hey, doc, I think I'm infertile. What do we do now?"
Well, I kind of first get a background as to their interpretation of what infertility is. Some women assume because you'd be surprised that they're infertile, but yet they're not having frequent sexual intercourse. So I have to kind of first figure out what is their timing in terms of coitus or sexual intercourse. And then I try to find out exactly in terms of what they've done in the past. And then we do an actually workup. We check, again, the system. We do labs to make certain if there's anything in terms of their hormones. We look at the uterus. We do ultrasound. We also look to see if the tubes have an issue, which is a test called hysterosalpingogram, where we're checking for the flow and to make certain that the tubes are open. We do cervical production and quality testing. And of course, on the male side, we have to also do semen analysis. So it's a check by check sort of systemic way of evaluating infertility. But again, at first, I always try to make certain that if the patient understands, is she truly infertile or not? You would be surprised. Someone had a baby 6 months ago, they've tried for 3 months, and they're 25 years old, and they consider themselves to be infertile. And that's not the definition of infertility.
You brought up another great point. So time frame determines whether or not you're infertile and your age. So I know that for me, I just have to quickly input a little story. So I have patients too that come in and say they're infertile, and the point about making sure that you're having frequent sex, right. But it's not only about having frequent sex, it's about not having it too frequently, because some people who are trying to get pregnant will have it too often and they'll use up the sperm. Right. So it's like you got to wait about 72 hours, mm-hmm. Not so sexy, not so romantic. But it's like 72 hours to get that sperm built up again. And then it's like, okay, honey, clockwork is 72 hours later. Let's go ahead. You probably have enough sperm. So sometimes we waste the sperm. You need a lot of sperm in order to have a pregnancy. So it has to be a lot of it, and it has to function properly. So if you're doing it a little too often because you're trying to get pregnant, you're going to use up the sperm and you're not going to get pregnant. So you're absolutely right. It's really important. I know, Pat, I see you.
Well, ovulation is a part of this as well, right? Mm-hmm. We can't just do the deed if we aren't at the stage that we need to be to get it going, right?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. Timing is everything. You'd be surprised. Again, women have to understand that they're ovulating. Number one, you ovulate. Number two, when are you ovulating? To make certain that when you're having sexual intercourse, you're in the right time frame. So that's the first thing I really go over is timing. They have to understand what's important is the first day that they have menses. Counting from that, day 9 to about day 20 is the time of ovulation. What are the signs of ovulation? You see a discharge, it looks egg white, that comes down for the most part. And that's the time you should be engaging in an activity. We can also have things to purchase over the counter. I'm not a sponsor of Clear Blue, but I do use that as ovulation predictor test. I think it's very easy. It's a smiley face that helps the patient understand that this is my time. This is the time to engage in sexual intercourse. And of course, there's again more labs and things that we do in the office, but timing is key.
So, Dr. Chrisanne, you've alluded to age. We talked about timing is key. So, women that are professional women, that they go, such as you and Dr. Anita, you spend 8, 10, 12 years or after graduate school, after undergraduate to get your careers on track. So now you're getting a little older. Do you see this as a factor as far as professional women that wait longer into their 40s? We've recently even heard of people in their 50s. Can you speak to that? And then how they are managing alternative ways to become a mother.
Right. So the one good benefit of the professional aspect of a woman in terms of her reproductive years is hopefully someone has the financial gains so that she can afford the treatment for the most part. But what I always try to help women understand that no matter how accomplished you are, how successful you are, how educated you are, your body is the same. You only have a certain amount of time in order to get pregnant and have children, because that is the way we are wired as humans. So once a woman does begin to age, I do it as a reminder in the office to ask them what are their plans. And even when I have young ladies, 25 to 35, I talk to them about freezing their eggs. It's extremely important for them to consider freezing their eggs if they have a long-term sort of career path, because by the time they do settle down and plan for marriage and having children, they are already at the stage where maybe their eggs don't have the most ideal quality, and the specialists are not so happy to kind of work with them. As you mentioned and alluded, actually, when we looked at some of the data, 50-year-olds, above 50-year-olds, one of the fastest growing population of women having children. Women are more enlightened now. They are more empowered. They have more money for the most part. So, and they are making the decision sometimes to have a family without having a partner. So all of this comes into play, that we see extremely interesting ways that people have have begun their families, whether they themselves have made the decision to carry their children and embark on that journey, or one of the treatment options is to then get a surrogate in order to either donate eggs. You can also have a donation of sperm, or they can be a gestational carrier to help that person to finally get the family that they desire.
I just want to ask one other question, because I know our time is winding down. Miscarriages.
Yes.
Can we talk a little bit about that? I didn't realize they were as common as they are until I personally had a couple of miscarriages. What do you see in your practice, and you as well, Dr. Anita, with women who suffer from multiple miscarriages? What can they do to minimize that risk?
Yeah, miscarriage is extremely common across the board, all women, unfortunately. And the thing about miscarriage is that I always make certain that women understand it wasn't anything that they did. I really provide reassurance. I make sure they also understand that it's something that most women will experience. 9 times out of 10, it's extremely high. About 80 to 90% of women miscarry a fetus at some time, or embryo at some time in their lives. And most of the time, they are unrecognized. They didn't even realize they were pregnant. So in terms of the workup and evaluation and treatment, number one is not to suffer in silence, is to go forward to their physician and let them know that they need assistance. They need to make certain that they are properly evaluated to try and figure out why is it that they are continually miscarrying. We have great treatment options nowadays. We're giving progesterone early in pregnancy. We're giving aspirin early in pregnancy. Very cheap little treatment options that are helping women not only get pregnant, they're helping women stay pregnant and achieve healthy pregnancies, term to 39 to 40 weeks. That's the ideal goal. And even those, unfortunately, of those women that, again, are what we call them habitual aborters, many times, even if they don't necessarily get to term, at least they get to over 24 weeks that they're going home with the baby. So I always ask, in my practice, if they're having issues, to identify if they recognize it, and really to make certain that I'm helping them achieve their goal in terms of if they want to grow a family or not.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
So I think I have one last question. And definitely, miscarriages we talked about. I think that was a good question, Pat, by the way. Great question, because women do experience. But with the miscarriage, what I usually see on my side is the emotional piece. So I have a patient that's had a miscarriage and she's grieving. So I'll address that as the primary care doctor. But let's kind of go back to infertility for 1 second and talk about the emotional side of being infertile. What do you usually do for your patients who are working towards motherhood, are finding that they are suffering from infertility and are feeling down? What do you do for those patients?
I let them know, number one, I reassure them that it's a possibility. Their mother was a mother, their grandmother, they come from a long line of mothers. This is not something that means it's going to stop with them. That journey may be long or it may be short, but number one, let's recognize that it's something that they want to accomplish and for us to then get on to that goal. I want to make sure that they're committed in the process, because starting and one day and disappearing 2 to 3 months and then popping back in doesn't help them. It is an arduous process. It can be lengthy. It can be taxing. And the most important, as you mentioned, emotional. So I really, really try to make certain that they understand that being a mother is part of their destiny as well, even if it doesn't happen biologically. We have a lot of treatment options in terms of IVF and all, the other treatment options, and of course, adoption, so that they can ultimately become a mother. But yes, definitely when the moms come in, I call them moms from day one. And they are really suffering. They want to be pregnant yesterday. If you tell them to put a needle in their eye, they would do it. They would do anything to get pregnant. But unfortunately, for whatever reason, it's not happening. I always try to help reassure them, because I make it my personal goal to make sure that they accomplish that goal, that wonderful celebration of being a mom.
So that's a perfect segue. And we've said we only have one more question. We only have one more question, but we only have one more question. You're a mom, but in addition to being a mom, you're a businesswoman, you're a professional, you are active in the community, you're a daughter, you're a sister, you're a lot of stuff. How do you strike a balance? How do you fill your cup, as we say here at the Sister Covenant, and do all the great things you do in order to be well and serve these women and into them? Because I see what you and Dr. Anita do as a ministry. How do you do it all?
Yeah, definitely work-life balance is important. I was lucky in terms of going into medicine. I was not one of those people who I did well academically, but I was also a free spirit. I was a dance major. So that love of dance I carried throughout my journey, and through medical school, residency, I was always affiliated with a dance company. So on the side, I was always dancing. My health, unfortunately, did cause a little bit of a challenge, but I had translated and changed my dance into going to the gym. So going to the gym is a big deal. I love spending time with my family. I try to shut things off at a certain time so that this is my time. I am a woman of Christ. So I go to church. That helps a lot. That's my solvent. I pray and I help in terms of ministry, going on medical missions. I think that's extremely important to give back. Many times I see patients, they don't have money, they don't have anything, and I'm providing care. So that helps me. That helps me feed my soul. It makes me feel good. And it also helps in terms of making certain that our mission, which is really excellent healthcare without exception, goes through entirely, so that any woman and every woman gets the care they deserve. But definitely, number one, I can't do the work that I do without being at a certain place and having that great support and family, friends, and understanding my place here is really the key.
Dr. Mcguire, you are beautiful, beautiful, absolutely inside and out. So thank you for coming on the Sister Covenant and just blessing us personally. I'm enriched, but I know our audience has taken away some nuggets to help them on their journey to the blessing of motherhood.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Anita.
Awesome, empowering conversation. And we know it's one that many women out there will take something away from so they can experience the blessing of motherhood. Now, I am over the moon excited. I cannot contain myself for this next guest. I have the honor of sitting down and talking to R.J. Gillum. R.J. is known around this state and around this country, probably one of the most recognizable, beautiful faces that you will ever want to meet. She is not originally from Florida. She is a native of Montgomery, Alabama, but has lived in Tallahassee for the last 20 years as she received both her undergraduate and master's of public health from Florida A&M University. She has had a demanding and rewarding career as currently she serves as the director of Florida Dental Association Foundation, but she has held several other executive level state positions in the nonprofit and philanthropic world. RJ is a consummate volunteer. She has served in various capacities in the local Tallahassee community and statewide. And with her many professional and civic accomplishments, I can honestly say that her most covenant roles is that of a mother and a wife, as she is the former First Lady of Tallahassee. She's married to my nephew, the Honorable Andrew Gillum, and they have 3 beautiful, beautiful children, 7-year-old twins, Jackson and Caroline, and 4-year-old, our bad boy, Davis. Come on in the studio. RJ, how are you, my dear?
I'm great. How are you today?
I am well. I am well. It is such a pleasure to sit down and chat with you. And we have to be transparent. This is not Sunday morning. It's actually Saturday night, because that's when we could coordinate our busy lives.
Right. 2 busy ladies. But I'm so proud of you. I absolutely love the Sister Covenant. I remember when you said you wanted to do this and it was an idea. I really enjoyed it over this past year. And I'm honored to be here with you today.
Well, we have a lot to unpack in this few minutes. We never have enough time, but I know you have many passions, and one of which is the subject we're going to be talking about.
Yes.
You have been so gracious to come on the Sister Covenant, but you didn't just start here in sharing your story and you and Andrew's journey to becoming parents. But before we get to that, tell us who we see in front of us. I read a little bit about your bio. It'll live on the Sister Covenant, but tell us, who is RJ Gillum?
Oh, I'm telling you, it's funny you're asking me today, because I'm laughing at you and I both and how busy we are. I work for the Florida Dental Association. I run our foundation. It just so happens this week is our annual meeting, the first meeting we had in person in almost 2 years. So I had the pleasure of being with some of the most wonderful dentists and business leaders around the state who helped me do my job. And that is provide charitable dental programs all over the state of Florida. So I had a busy weekend, but it was great. I immediately left a board meeting today and traveled to my nephew's birthday party, where your son, who lives here in Tallahassee, was lending a hand and helping me and Andrew out. He had taken the kids to a birthday party. So it's so funny. This day just reminds me of what life seems to be like now. It's busy. It's never a dull moment. Like I said, I love what I do, but being a mother keeps me very busy. And then, of course, there's always trying to find the time for your partner. But we are happy and we're healthy, and I think that's pretty much all, we can ask for.
So that is pretty special that my youngest son helped you out today, because I want to shout out to the men of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated on their Founders Day. So I'm sure he was a little busy himself. So I think he and his dad may have done a good job, and
Oh,
And
of course you did. Love those two young men. You know, it's so funny to me that when I first started dating my husband, your nephew, I think your boys were probably my kids' age. I actually remember you all traveling to Tallahassee for one of Andrew's swearing in. He was being sworn in, not the first time that I was there, but for like, I think his second term as a city commissioner. And so we have pictures of the boys, and they're pretty much the age of my kids. And it's so fascinating to me, you know, that's kind of like when my journey with your family started, and then I joined your family, and now here your boys are being a source of help and what my kids are looking up to. And it seems like just a blink of an eye, your boys were that age.
so family is important to us.
Yes,
And
it
that's
is.
what we want people
Yes,
to
it
know.
is.
Family, our village is strong. You have been very, as they say, transparent
Yes.
during the gubernatorial race. You really came out and had multiple conversations about infertility and
Yes.
your struggle to become a mom.
You're
Would
right.
you share that journey with us here?
Absolutely. So Andrew and I got married in 2009. We'd known each other forever, had been friends in school. And by the time we finally married, we knew we wanted to start a family pretty quickly. So we only waited 1 year before we wanted to start to have children. And I can remember just kind of assuming it would happen quickly and naturally. And so after about, 5 or 6 months, I was a little concerned, just happened to mention it to my doctor, my OB, not OB, but GYN. Like, do you think anything's wrong? And he said, maybe not, but maybe, but let's just go ahead. Let's do some testing. And essentially that was the start, going through some tests of a 4-year journey for us to finally get our family. And there were lot of rough moments before we made it to the joy of celebrating the birth of Jackson and Caroline. And I probably, I don't know that I was naive about what it would take. I think I probably had a couple of friends who had done some kind of fertility treatment, whether it was IUIs or something that was assisted, or even IVF, which is what we did. At the time, I was very active in the Junior League here in Tallahassee. And I remember quite a few of my friends openly talking about their struggles. One of my girlfriends from work, we even all had like a little party for her one day when she was having to travel and go have some procedures done. I think, though, I still just didn't realize that I was going to have the kind of struggles I had, Pat. So it took, first of all, months and months of testing. And what was kind of tough for us is that I had what was pretty much called unexplained infertility, meaning every test came back fine. So that was hard for me. I was a biology major at FAMU. I kind of have a math and science brain. And I think it would have been a little easier to accept if there was an answer, whether or not we could solve it. But we just kept hearing, everything's okay. You just aren't getting pregnant. And then, unfortunately, we went through a phase in the period of 1 calendar year where we finally were able to get pregnant. And I suffered 3 miscarriages in the same calendar year. The last one was actually on a Christmas day. And that was really tough because it takes so long to get pregnant. You finally get pregnant, and then you're not able to keep the baby. And then we had 1 more miscarriage a few months after that. And up until that point, we had not yet tried IVF. We kind of were doing the steps. Let's start here. Let's do some medication. Let's try some other interventions. And then finally, Andrew and I just said, we're ready. We're going to skip a couple of other steps just because of the emotion that's involved and the disappointment and the stress. It's very, very expensive. At the time I was going through it, insurance didn't cover anything. Sometimes people can get the whole thing covered, or at least maybe your testing covered, but everything we were doing was coming out of pocket. And we were just so, so blessed because we decided in 2013 that we were going to move forward and try IVF. I actually traveled to Jacksonville, where you are. So
I would have a doctor's appointment that maybe lasted 15, 20 minutes that I had driven 2.5 hours for and had to drive right back. So to this day, I still talk about on the trips that Andrew could make with me, the conversations we were having in the car, the tears, the joy for some of it, trying to be optimistic. And some of those trips I had to make by myself because they were quick trips. If you can think about maybe a time when you've gone to the doctor, the waiting room part is probably longer than the exam room part, and having to drive all the way 2.5, 3 hours away for something like that. There was a lot of solitude in the car. And my faith was tested greatly during this process with every miscarriage. And as we went through IVF, I can specifically remember some of the songs. I had a playlist because I wanted to try to keep my spirits up, keep my faith up. And, we were just blessed. We decided to have 2 embryos that we were going to give it a try. And God helped us because they both worked. I ended up with my beautiful, beautiful twins, Caroline and Jackson, who were born in May of 2014. So there was something about going through all of that, the miscarriage, every part of the journey, that I felt some peace and some therapy in sharing it with women. And it seems like every time I shared it, I was helping somebody else. So that's kind of what started the transparency and the saying to so many people, you are not alone. There's so many other women who are going through this. And I'm just going to, tell a little bit of my story and hope that it helps.
So RJ, thank you for that. We had the opportunity just earlier this week to sit down and talk with Dr. Chrisanne, who is a GYN in Miami. And she talked about much of what you just talked about, the miscarriages, and how people don't realize how common that is. I didn't realize until I had 2 of them myself, whereas I already had a child. And then there was a long period between Lauren and Austin. People don't realize that 9 years where I had multiple miscarriages, and you think you're not enough. You start questioning in your head, what did I do wrong? Why? And she even talked about the unexplained infertility. Yeah. And then in the African American community, we just don't talk about it. It's a taboo. So who did you have to model after? How did you know about other alternative paths to motherhood?
Well, I tell you, in the beginning, it wasn't friends. I wasn't quite sure who to talk to because as we first started our journey, it maybe only took about 6 months to get pregnant the first time. And technically speaking, especially if you speak with your doctor, that's not necessarily a long time. Some people, it just takes longer to get pregnant than others. So we weren't quite sure if it was a problem or if it was just a little harder. And I admit that I probably did more internet searching than talking to people. And I can't quite recall, Pat, I don't know if it was embarrassment or shame. I was kind of going through that weird period where a lot of friends were starting to get pregnant, and I was going to a lot of baby showers, and it was a tough topic. I probably would tears well up almost every time I talked about it. And part of me just didn't want to do that, especially with friends who either were pregnant or having babies, because I didn't want them to feel burdened by my sadness, if that makes any sense. And I don't quite recall until I really decided that we were going to do IVF, starting to share with people. I know the first pregnancy was really tough because we had told a few people we were pregnant. Not many, because that miscarriage was fairly early, but it was really tough because I realized just in those few people we told, close friends and family, they of course were so compassionate, but it's almost like you don't want that attention, that unwanted attention. And so those next 3, we didn't really share with a lot of people, including my mom, who I'm very close to, who I discovered in my journey. She had multiple miscarriages. I think 1 or 2 between my brother and I, and then 1 or 2 after I did. So I was starting to figure out that it was more common, but you didn't necessarily want to talk to people about it because it's just a tough subject. not wanting to maybe bring anybody down, or feeling like they don't understand. Because, I had friends who, on their honeymoon got pregnant, or, just had to think about getting pregnant. They were having babies. So it was kind of a tough thing to navigate when and where I would have those conversations with friends.
So we're here at Christmas, and we often think about this being so magical, and it's full of lights and songs, but clearly children.
Yes.
And toys and all of that. And you kind of broached it already, even with the showers. How did you navigate that? And what would you say to some other woman right now today?
Yeah.
I just left a really cute square near my home, and it was full of children and Santa. And I'm sure not everybody's happy to see that Santa. What would you say to them, and how did you navigate that time?
I think that's such a great question, because I have a friend here in Tallahassee. It's actually, Andrew was the mayor here, and right before him, our good friend John Marks was the mayor. His daughter-in-law, Christina Marks, gave me some excellent advice once, because I had talked to her about my experience, and she was very forthcoming and vocal with me about she and her husband's journey to motherhood. And she told me to stop worrying about everybody else, stop trying to figure out how everyone else felt, and to really deepen into my own feelings. She gave me the best advice ever. She said, stop going to baby showers. She said, unless this is like your best friend and you're the host, don't go. Buy the gift, drop the gift off, send it in the mail. If you know that it is torturous to you to attend a baby shower when you are longing to be a mother, don't put yourself in that kind of situation. And I'd say the same thing for the holidays. It's a little harder, but, don't put yourself in these situations where you're going to just be made to feel so sad and have so much longing. For me, Christmas wasn't as bad because we were really surrounded by family. It almost was like a happy distraction. The only thing I'll say, and this is one thing I continue to educate people on, is without knowing it, I think sometimes people say the wrong thing or ask the wrong questions to people who are on a journey to motherhood. When you are young, especially, I think when you get engaged, the first thing people ask you is, when is the wedding? Have you set a date? It's almost like they don't even let you sit in the joy of being engaged. But I think that's just what we're conditioned to do, is just, it's conversation, right? And what's the next thing you ask people as soon as they get married? Well, when are you all going to have some babies? And so I've told people, after going through what we went through, just be really cognizant of the things you say to people. Whether this woman is single and unpartnered or not, you have no idea what her motherhood story is. Maybe she doesn't want to be a mom. Maybe she's struggling to be a mom. And so asking somebody, well, when are you going to have kids? Or why haven't y'all had kids yet? That was probably the hardest part. Also, I knew that no one had malintent. When they ask those questions, they want to be, they're just asking because they are family, and, moms really want to know because they want to be a grandmother. But that was probably the hardest part of Christmas, and thinking about, oh, I wish I had a family, or we're about to go into this family gathering, or being around my family or your family for Christmas. And everyone's going to ask, why aren't y'all having babies yet? Especially when you're a little older. If you've got married a little older, folks don't give you 2 and 3 years like they used to. They want to know right away. So that was tough. I honestly think Christmas wasn't as hard. I'll tell you what was hard for me, Pat, Mother's Day. All those years where we were working really hard to try to be a mom, even though I'm so blessed that my mom is still living. Some of those Mother's Day we were celebrating with Miss Gillum, my mother-in-law. But on the days when I didn't have to either go be with either one of them on Mother's Day, I will tell you, I was in the bed. I didn't like to go to church on those days. And it felt so strange. It just felt like, girl, get up. Why are you so sad? But in hindsight, I realized that was a day of mourning for me, because I longed to be able to celebrate a Mother's Day, and I wasn't sure if I was ever going to be able to. So that was probably tough.
And you know what? I think if we can share, this is one aspect, but
Yes.
This is why this is so important, this conversation, this dialogue, because inevitably people see you and they think, oh, she has it all together. She's people, they see the package, right? But they don't
Right.
know, as they say, they don't know the story
Right.
behind the journey.
Yes.
And that is just so important to share because inevitably somebody's been there.
Yeah, that's right.
And it doesn't matter your station. I think Dr. Christian said, infertility has no respective person. It doesn't matter your
Exactly.
income level. It
That's
doesn't
right.
matter your race or zip code.
Yeah.
It is a thing.
Yes.
And what you just shared is definitely something that is hard.
Yeah.
And I understand that. So your faith, you said it was tested. Did you ever think you weren't going to be a mom?
I did. Oh my goodness.
Tell us
There
about
was
that.
so many times. I can remember, I have vivid memories of times, like I told you, you know, I think it was depression, really. Being in our bedroom, in our room, you know, closing the blinds, closing the curtains in the dark. And I'll give Andrew a lot of credit because, and God, it seemed as though, even though he had struggles with our journey as well, I think we were so blessed, because I know a lot of couples that don't make it through this. It seemed like both of our faith faltered at various times, but it almost was a blessing that it never happened at the same time. So it seemed like whenever he would get down and doubt that this would happen, I was in a better place, you know, feeling a little more secure and positive. And I can recall one time when he told me, he's like, get up, you gotta get up, you gotta get out of bed. Because I had stopped going to church completely. I was like, I'm not going to church. I just, you know, I hadn't given up on God, but I just needed a minute, you know, because I didn't understand what he was doing and why he was doing it, right? What is this test for? I'm doing everything I'm supposed to do. I'm doing it right. I know I'll be a good mother. Really trying to believe it will happen no matter what. Maybe it was going to end up, I know you either have talked or will talk with other mothers about, maybe it will end up through adoption or surrogacy, but I need it to happen. I need it to happen. And I just got to a point where I felt like it wasn't. And there were some, I mean, breakdown tears, like laying on the ground, crying, trying to figure out what I was going to do because I wanted this thing so badly. I wanted to be a mother so badly. So it really helped that Andrew could kind of help propel me. My mother also, I confided in her quite a bit. And what I love about my faith journey in this is that I did finally get to a point where I feel like God promised me motherhood. I think I felt as though he didn't tell me how it would happen. And so it was a way of me saying, okay, I think I'm supposed to now open my mind up. I am supposed to figure out, are we going to try to become foster parents? Are we going to try expensive fertility treatments? Are we going to try adoption? Are we going to try surrogacy? And at that point, we started researching all of those options. Together, we sat down and decided which ones we wanted to do and we didn't. And I'll tell you, we did decide we were going to give IVF one try. It was very expensive. It took a toll on my body. And like I told you, going back and forth to Jacksonville, and we'd already decided that if that didn't work, we would do this next. And that if that didn't work, we would do this next. So that started to help me, feeling like, A, God promised me it would happen. And then B, we had a plan for how we were going to figure out how to get to it, as opposed to just feeling so helpless and not knowing if anything would happen.
And I am a firm believer, and you know, we've been tested, right? Me with a special needs child, and even the miscarriages.
Yes.
We're firm believers that God uses us for a bigger platform, right? And when you're going through it, it does not feel good, but that diamond is being shaped to its brilliance. And the key is you're going through it. And why not you? Because you're the perfect person.
That's right. That's right.
For his purpose. So now you have been blessed, not once, not twice, but 3 times.
Yes.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful kids. There they are on the screen that are very active, very active. They're into everything. And you are, you know, a wife, you're a professional, a high-powered professional, as we just talked about, and you're volunteering all over the place. How do you fill your cup? What do you do to keep your
Ooh,
balance?
that's a tough one. You've had a number of times on the show, different ways that we talk about this, and I think it's all a work in progress. I talk to a lot of my friends. I will tell you, it's probably been those toughest times that have helped me, or I should say, forced me to figure out that I do need to fill my cup. I kind of recall some really important inflection points in my life. I can remember on my 40th birthday, that happened in the middle of the campaign. And, I had these grand dreams about what I could do for my birthday. Should we go out of the country? And it just so happened my 40th birthday fell in the middle of this campaign. My husband was running for governor. And I honestly thought, things were tough and we were really trying to get it together and win, that I might not be able to do anything. And if I did, I'd have to do it without him. So I'm so grateful that Andrew actually took time out. He planned a beautiful weekend for me and some friends. We got away and he didn't do any work, same thing as when Davis was born on the campaign. He took time away because that was important. But turning 40, having had my third child, when the twins were 3, I had Davis. And we'll get to that in a second because Davis actually wasn't planned. Davis was my true miracle baby. I thought those twins were my miracle baby, but Davis was our miracle baby. And working full time and trying to do this campaign and travel all over the state of Florida, which is so large, it's more like 3 or 4 or 5 states. There was a lot of burnout that happened. And I don't think even I knew it was happening because we were in survival mode. We had a mission. We were going to make it work. I was going to keep my head held high for my kids so that they didn't think anything was wrong, be a supportive helpmate to my husband. And, when it was all over and we looked around, I was depleted, completely depleted. And so the journey to figuring out how to take care of me, sometimes even now, these few years later, feels very selfish. I'll tell you, Pat, it feels counterintuitive, but I got to a place of such depletion that now I understand the necessity of it, of doing a girls' weekend when it's inconvenient for my husband. Doing something if my kids want my time, but I just don't have the energy or the time to give them, taking a break and realizing they will be okay. They will be okay. They are loved. So much of this stuff we put on ourselves. I had a chat with a friend the other day. Before I went on a work trip, I went to the grocery store and I stocked the house and I picked out the kids' clothes and, sending all these calendar messages to Andrew so he'd do this, that, and the other. None of those were things he asked me to do. So I can't act like, oh my God, it's all on me. And so I stopped doing them. He figures out how to take care of his children just fine. He probably does it better than me because he's actually the organized one of this duo. And when I finally learned a couple things, let go of the control and be what's most important, that these kids are happy. The rest of it, they don't really care about. I have to remind myself that every day my children are happy and healthy and they love me. And as far as they know, I'm doing a great job, right? But I also know that I'm going to have some real conversations with them when they get older. If there are things they remember where they were disappointed or they weren't sure what mommy was going through, that I kind of have to tell them, mommy was going through a tough time, but I was doing the best that I could so that I could love you and so that I could love me. So being in town is just the little things. I get my nails done every 3 weeks. That's my indulgent thing that I do. I try to get my hair done a lot. Whenever I want to buy something, I do, if we can afford it. Those are all things that probably for years I stopped doing because it felt indulgent to buy myself some shoes that I didn't need. Right? Because I have kids and these kids need clothes. And after a while, I learned there's nothing wrong with buying yourself something. You need to figure out how to be happy so that you can be healthy. It's kind of like the oxygen mask they tell you, put it on yourself first and then assist others. So over this last year or two, I'm actually kind of proud of myself because I think I have been better at figuring out how to put that oxygen mask on. But I'll be honest, it has been a challenge. I think with both my children and my husband, because they're not used to this. I'm having to retrain them on how mommy is and how wife is. But overall, we're all doing okay.
So we love you, RJ Gillum.
Thank you.
Our time has far exceeded itself, but you come back. You must promise.
I promise. I've thoroughly enjoyed our talk today.
But you know what? The people get to see our authentic, as they say, RJ Gillum.
This is me.
There are women out there that are professional, or even that most important job of being a mom extraordinaire.
Yeah.
And they see, I'm not alone. I can do this. I have role models such as RJ Gillum, who has gone through some journeys, but that's key. She went through them, and this is who she is today.
That's right.
We are evolving. It's not a destination. It is a journey, isn't it? And
That's
it's an amazing journey to be on together, right?
That's right. Absolutely. We can't get through it alone. That's why we have this community, and we need to use it.
Very much so. I love you to the moon and back, my dear.
Love you.
She is an amazing, beautiful woman inside and out. And I so love her and my family. This was an amazing morning, amazing conversation. And I know it blessed me. So I am so hopeful that it has blessed some woman or women out there, a sister that is in pursuit of the blessings of motherhood. So as always, we're going to end our podcast with another powerful PSA with some of my dearest friends talking about the importance of vaccination. And it isn't just women, it is empowering our community. But as always, we invite you back in 2 weeks for part 2. So get ready and get your girlfriends and sisters and family members around, because that is going to be another empowering conversation around this topic of infertility. But until then, be bold, be brilliant, be brave and beautiful, my sisters, and be blessed.
People are dying every day from the coronavirus. I am vaccinated because I care about my family, my friends, and my community. Powerful women get vaccinated. Together, we win.
Why did I get vaccinated? Well, for 3 reasons. The first is the CDC recommended it, and I believe in the CDC. I want to remain healthy, and they recommend that you get vaccinated so that you can remain healthy. It's safe. I have gotten a flu shot for the past 20 years, and I have never caught the flu. And I have been vaccinated with a flu shot for years. So it is safe to get vaccinated. And lastly, probably the most important reason is as a full-time caregiver for my mother, who's 75 years old with underlying issues, I needed to get vaccinated because it was important for me to be her caregiver. I must take care of myself. So it is important that we care for our elderly and that we want to protect them at all times. Powerful women get vaccinated. Together, we win.
I got vaccinated to protect myself, my family, my loved ones, and my community. I believe in the science and I believe in the medical professionals. Powerful women get vaccinated. Together, we win.
I got vaccinated to build protection for myself, my family, my community. I think that vaccination helps us all to return to the activities that we love. So I did my part, and I encourage you to remain vigilant and get vaccinated, because powerful women get vaccinated. Together, we win.
I decided to get vaccinated because I deeply adore and most importantly respect the health of my peers, my colleagues, and people in my community. Powerful women get vaccinated. Together, we win.
Hi, I am Selena Webster Bass, a health equity advocate and the founder and CEO of the Voices Institute. And I got vaccinated for love. There's a scripture that says to love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, soul, mind, and strength, and to love thy neighbor as thyself. And so I got vaccinated for my children, Spencer, Trinity, Micah. I also got vaccinated for my husband, Lester. But I also got vaccinated for the larger community because I want everyone to be safe, right? So it's important that we get vaccinated. It's important that we wash our hands, that we watch our distance, and that we are advocates for vaccinations. So powerful women, get vaccinated, and together we win.
I was vaccinated to protect myself and others, especially my 88-year-old mother, because life is too short and I want to live life to its fullness. Because powerful women get vaccinated, and together we will win.
Hello, I'm Mia Jones, CEO for Agape Family Health. And it was critical for me to get vaccinated because I have the opportunity to care for my mother, who's 85 years old. And I knew that it was important for me to make sure that I was protecting her as I was going out and protecting our community. Powerful women get vaccinated. Together we win.
Hello there. I am here to let you know why I got vaccinated. I got vaccinated to inoculate my immune system. Did you get that? I want to make sure I am doing my part to make sure that we are safe, that all of us are healed, and that we are not infecting one another. So I still mask up, I still wash my hands. But I am part of Powerful Women Together. We win. In this moment, if you have not considered, I want you to reconsider, remain vigilant, and get vaccinated. It's that simple.
I got the shot for my health and safety and for that of my family and friends, both young and old. Also to get back to safely traveling, brunching, and happy houring. Just really to start living my best life. So folks, enough is enough. Go ahead and get the shot. Powerful women get vaccinated and they get their men vaccinated too. Together, we win.
Well, I'm Kim Lee. I am vaccinated. And the reasons that I'm vaccinated for COVID-19, twofold, both selfless and selfish. The selfish reason, as the founder of the Sister Covenant often promotes and says, that airlines tell us to put the mask over your nose and mouth first so that when it's time, if needed, you could help your neighbor. The selfless reason is just for that we are our neighbor's keeper. There's some scripture that says there's no greater love than a man to lay down his life for a friend. This life's journey is not about what we can do for ourselves, but what we can do for each other. So it's the social responsibility that we have to humankind worldwide, and it's the personal responsibility that we have for our own well-being. As a woman, I am so elated to have the opportunity to listen and adhere to the science and to respond accordingly. As powerful women, together we win.
Hello, I'm Dr. Kim Barbell Johnson. I'm a family physician and a clinical research scientist. As a physician and a scientist, I chose to get vaccinated because I understood the science enough to distinguish the politics from this pandemic. I also chose to improve my odds of survival in this pandemic for my children, for my parents, and my community. Powerful women get vaccinated. Together, we win.
My name is Dr. Courtney Owens. I chose to get vaccinated because as an emergency medicine physician, I've had the unfortunate responsibility of holding the hand of a young, healthy, 30-year-old man as he took his last breath and died of COVID-19. I then had to tell his own mother over the phone that she would never get to hold his hand again. This death and thousands of others could have easily been prevented with vaccinations. Vaccinations are the one thing that have been proven, along with masking and social distancing, to be safe and to be effective at preventing COVID-19. Take responsibility for yourself, for your family, and for your community. Get vaccinated. Strong women get vaccinated. Together, we can.
Hi. I didn't give it a second thought when it came to getting vaccinated. Once the vaccination was, I did not give it a second thought when it came to getting vaccinated. Once the vaccines were approved, I rushed down there and got my vaccine. You know, the pros outweigh the cons, and I believe the science, and I've done my own research. And on top of that, I've had several family members and friends die from COVID-19, and I didn't want it to happen again. I said, you know what? We need to protect ourselves. Please get vaccinated. Powerful women get vaccinated. Together, we can win.